Hey, welcome to Playback. Today, we're going to dive into the mind of a man who didn't just live in the Renaissance. He pretty much designed our future about 500 years before it even got here.
So when you hear the name Leonardo da Vinci, what comes to mind? Probably this, right? The master painter, the genius behind these immortal works like the Mona Lisa and the Last Supper. And yeah, he was absolutely one of the greatest artists who ever lived.
But here's the thing, that's not even half the story. His most mind-blowing work was never meant for a canvas. No, it was all hidden away in thousands of pages of his private notes, this secret world of sketches and ideas that were so far ahead of their time, it was basically science fiction.
So to really understand Leonardo, we have to look past the art gallery and dive right into these notebooks. This is where we see the true scale of his genius. This guy was a polymath, a master of so many different fields, and just a world-class inventor.
I mean, the sheer scope of what he was into is just staggering. The biggest collection of his notes, called the Codex Atlanticus, has over 1,000 pages from his entire career. And the subjects are just all over the map: botany, math, anatomy, music, and of course, his incredible inventions.
All right, let's take a look at some of these wild designs. Here we have his armored car. I mean, come on, it's basically a tank from the 15th century. It had a sloped shell to deflect cannonballs and was armed with cannons that could fire in every direction. The whole point was just to smash through enemy lines.
And, oh man, was he obsessed with flight. This right here is his aerial screw. Now look, they couldn't have built it back then with the materials they had, but what's amazing is that Leonardo totally understood the basic idea of vertical lifts, that a screw-like thing could literally bite into the air and pull the machine straight up.
He wasn't just thinking about land and air. Nope. He was imagining exploring the ocean floor. He drew up a whole diving system, a waterproof leather suit, a breathing tube that ran up to a cork float on the surface, and he even included a little pouch for, well, you know, when nature calls.
And hey, if you're gonna invent flying machines, you'd better invent a way to get down safely, right? He thought of that too. This simple pyramid-shaped parachute was designed with a specific ratio of cloth to height. Leonardo actually wrote that with it, a man could jump from any height and not get hurt. And maybe the most shocking of all, he designed what a lot of people consider to be the world's very first robots. He designed a self-moving cart that could be programmed to follow a specific path, and a mechanical knight that could actually sit up, wave its arms, and turn its head, all run by a complex system of pulleys and gear.
So this brings up a huge question, right? With all these incredible, world-changing ideas, helicopters, tanks, robots, why do they have absolutely zero impact on the world he lived in? Why are they all just drawings on a page?
It's really the central puzzle of Leonardo's legacy. He dreamed up the modern world, so why did it take another 400 years for that world to actually show up?
Well, the answer is kind of a mix of his own weird habits and the limits of his time. For one, he wrote everything backwards, in this mirror script. He didn't use any punctuation and made up his own shorthand. He was also famous for getting distracted and almost never finishing his projects. But honestly, the biggest reason? The technology of the 1500s just couldn't build what his mind was dreaming up. The engines, the strong, lightweight materials he needed, they just didn't exist yet.
And this timeline really shows you that incredible delay. After he died in 1519, his student got the notebooks, but was just totally overwhelmed. So for centuries, the pages were scattered, sold off, and basically forgotten. It wasn't until around the year 1900, a 400-year gap, that they were finally gathered up and published, revealing to the world just how deep his scientific genius really was.
But this is where the story takes a really incredible turn. Just as the world was figuring out what it had missed all those years, Leonardo's ideas started coming to life in ways that are shaping our modern world right now.
So you might be thinking, okay, that's a fascinating story, but by 1900, we already had cars, and the airplane was right around the corner. Was his work just rediscovered too late to really matter?
Not quite. Get this. Fast forward to the early 2000s. A British heart surgeon named Francis Wells is studying Leonardo's super detailed drawings of the human heart, and he spots something everyone else had missed. Leonardo was totally focused on how the mitral valve opens. See, normal surgery at the time would narrow the valve to stop leaks, but that limited what a patient could do afterwards. Dr. Wells realized Leonardo's insight could lead to a repair that didn't narrow the valve at all.
And the impact? It's astounding.
Using this Da Vinci-inspired technique, Dr. Wells has successfully treated more than 2,000 patients, giving them a quality of life that just wasn't possible before. A 500-year-old drawing, saving lives today.
As Dr. Wells himself put it, Leonardo's understanding of how the body is built and how it works was so profound that even modern medicine had kind of overlooked some of his lessons. And the connections don't stop there. When engineers were developing the first surgical robots back in the 90s, they hit a major roadblock. How could they possibly copy the incredibly complex motion of a surgeon's wrist? Well, they found the answer in Leonardo's anatomical drawings. His detailed studies of the wrist gave them the blueprint for the moving joint used in what is now, very appropriately, called the Da Vinci's surgical robot.
So, you see, Leonardo's legacy isn't just about his art or his lost inventions. It's about his way of thinking, a mindset that's just as revolutionary today as it was 500 years ago.
So what was the secret? Well, it starts with a relentless curiosity, just this endless desire to learn and question absolutely everything. Then it's about making connections between totally different things, using his artist's eye to understand a bird's flight, or using human anatomy to inspire a robot. And finally, it's that drive to actually test your ideas, to experiment and try to make them real.
You know, when you look at it all, you start to realize his paintings, his inventions, his scientific discoveries, they were all just the byproducts of his single greatest creation, his own endlessly curious and creative mind. It really makes you wonder, what connections are we missing today, and what futures are just waiting for us to design? Thanks for joining us for this Explainer on Playback.